Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the DJ Force X podcast. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce you guys today to Junkie Kut. Welcome.
Nice
Welcome.
one.
How are we doing today?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, like I said beforehand, thank you for doing this first and foremost. I'm very excited to have you on. Um, but what I want to do, like I do with a lot of people, I want to find out your origin story. So who is Junkie Kut? I know you've been around for a little while because I
Mm.
did some research and it's like it pains me to say I haven't known about you until now. um, despite my journey within this genre. But yeah, who is Junkie Kut? Where'd you come from? How
Cool.
did you come to be who you are today?
Yeah, cool. So yeah, Junkie Kut was born about 15 years ago, out of the kind of underground electronic harsh like techno industrial scene, which then led me into genres like Gabba, speedcore, all the weird European like niches.
Yep.
And yeah, Junkie Kut kind of was born out of trying to find these new weird genres and like weird niches that weren't really existing in the UK.
Yeah.
So as yeah, we spent a lot of time in Berlin in around 2008, 2009, and yeah, just kind of like grew through that scene really, and yeah, like many gigs there, many like really small events, but like this niche culture that you don't get in the UK. So I was like super excited. Um, and then also following on from that, like the Atari Teenage Riot thing in Berlin and like that kind of link with industrial through Alec Empire and things.
Yeah.
So yeah, these kind of worlds started to collide like 15 years ago, and yeah, we always wanted to bring in uh, a kind of political, socio-political, spiritual message behind it all as well. Kind of, yeah, just riding that. So yeah, so it started about 15 years ago around that time. And yeah, obviously it's evolved over the years into many different forms.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, much more recently, kind of going into the industrial goth EBM vibes, but through my history, if that
Yes.
makes sense. So yeah,
Cool. I mean, like I said, when I was sort of researching this before this anyway, I noticed you had stuff out in like 2011. So I'm checking the streaming services for this, so it may go back further than that.
sure.
That's about 15 years, isn't it? About 14, 15 years. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, sort of I sort of dipped into a couple of the early albums, and sort of very much heard that very European harsh sound that you were doing,
Hmm.
and it's sort of it like with that like I was a big fan of Atari Teenage Riot, Alec Empire, Panacea, the whole DHR label. Generally, I have got
Nice.
records behind me somewhere of various releases that they had back in the day, played to like worn out basically. And like going into the sort of like the stuff that we got over here, obviously we got a little bit of the techno head side of things, which was more of the happy
Yeah,
hardcore, which is kind of a bit more of the cheesy stuff. But I've got the Fear Factory remix EP where they did like a bunch of remixes for Fear Factory and stuff like that. And I got into a lot of that sort of stuff back then. 'Cause I was into my rock and metal, but being a DJ, I kind of dabbled in the electronic arts, if you
great.
will. More of the harsher side due to being into metal and stuff. So a lot of the industrial stuff that kind of kicked in at the time. Yeah, Ministry, all that kind of stuff, the usual sort of haunts, pitch shifter, stuff like that. But the European side of things was always something that enticed me a little bit. It was very like because being a DJ, you kind of like where you want to play, what you want to play, and there was nothing really for the harsh noise. I mean, I played rock clubs. That's just playing Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and you know fantastic for people dancing. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
you want to kind of like throw in, uh, you know, destroy 2,000 years of culture by Atari Change Right or something like that. Just as a random one I picked out of my head then. Um, and like occasionally I did occasionally drop the Fear Factory I think No Remorse remix, I think it was.
Yeah,
Just
nice.
solid like banging gabba beat in there and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, I've always like kind of like those sort of like the sort of darker industrial side of things, and I was very much into my sort of like trance goer type stuff that we kind
Yeah,
of
me
got
too,
over here.
man.
And those random mixtapes that used to get in record stores. The ones that came in the big colorful boxes and they were
Yeah,
with
yeah.
everything else, but they were just like cassette tapes that had mixes of DJs, like I know, just rave nights that they did, and they recorded the set and they put it out, and it was just like stuff like that used to really kind of get me, and I could really hear that in your early stuff,
Okay, cool.
which was great because I was like,
Mm.
obviously I'm not au fait with the current scene as such of it. I've got like connections within it, but um, I've gone down more the drum and bass route at the moment. That's my thing. It always has kind of been my thing. Jungle, drum and bass, my like
Okay, yeah.
loves when it comes to the electronic side of things. But I've always loved the harsh stuff, just like the random hard beats and stuff like that. Been to many events when I was younger, a lot younger and a lot more agile. Um, can't do it now. But I've got
Yeah,
friends who do like psytrance. I've got friends who do industrial. I've got friends who do uh yeah, I mean, generally that sort of side of things, the sort of harsher noise core, speed core like yourself, and listening to your new stuff, your recent album, there's a real delve into those other sort of side of things.
yeah, yeah.
Like you've got like kind of was it Snakes of DNA, which is
Oh
quite
yeah.
real like trip hop. It's kind of got that weird
Totally.
like yeah, it's
Yeah.
I like because it was a total break because like from the album I was listening to it and it was like I mean I love A for Alchemy as well. That was a great one.
Oh, nice.
Um, but going through it and then that one hit and I was like, oh, I like this because I love my trip hop as well.
Sure. Yeah.
My I love my tricky. I love my little bit of my massive attack kind of go down that route.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just to name the big ones anyway. And then I think it was Change Prospectus as well was another good track that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
quite
them two
quite a
were
tune
like
feature.
really, yeah, like the kind of they started as interludes actually, and
Oh
then
really?
like I kind of like elaborated on them and then they became like tracks. Because they don't really fit in the album in a sense because they're quite different. So I've like yeah, basically I ended up spending a bit of time just like making them into actual tracks.
Yeah.
And I've always been wanting to do stuff that doesn't fit in because like in Europe I'm very much in the speedcore world, you know.
Yes.
I get booked at like speedcore parties which start at 10 and finish at 7 and like, you know, so I'm usually on about
In the
4 in
morning,
the
people.
morning.
That's
Exactly.
not a matinee. That's in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I play like 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes. So you can't really play things like the Snakes of DNA at these events because
Yes.
it's not the scene.
Yeah.
So I've kind of come through this like in Europe, I'm in the speedcore world very much so. In the UK, that scene is doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've always wanted to do different styles, and now I've had this opportunity with the new album, like to really experiment with like different styles, but
Yeah.
also feed it through like the Gabba speedcore world as well.
Yeah.
Um, so it's difficult to please everyone, you know,
Oh, it
because
always is. It always is. But you've got to kind of like when it comes to music, there's that element of well, there's always that element, do what you want to make. Because it's not always what people want to hear. But then, there are certain artists that, even like, when record companies are manufacturing these things, like it's always the stuff that kind of that they think that people don't want ends up being the stuff they do want. So,
yeah,
and I've always followed that track when it comes to obviously being in the metal world. It's very different. Obviously now there's a lot more avenues to popularity, I suppose, is the best way of putting it.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you can get that kind of viral kick, and that can catapult, or that can screw you like a one-hit wonder. But
yeah, totally,
it's always been the
totally.
same. Like back in the day, one-hit wonders. You've got plenty of artists that have one song. They may have quality output otherwise.
Yeah,
No one cares.
yeah,
Everyone wants to hear. I don't know. Um, I can't even think of a one-hit wonder here, but it doesn't matter. Chesney Hawks. There we go. I'm the one and only. That's the only one that came to mind. Um, but that's all the track they want to hear. They don't hear anything. It's like when Rick Astley plays. It's like they only really want to hear. They only want to be Rickrolled.
yeah. They just want
It's
that
then,
one tune.
and it's the same with the viral stuff. I see it now. Like
Yeah,
being obviously, at the age that I am, I've seen these things kind of go round in a circle, which sucks. But it's the same thing. It's the same pattern. There's going to be people out there that, oh yeah, I remember that one from TikTok or Instagram or whatever.
yeah.
But then nothing else.
I think the one thing that's always stuck with me in this kind of narrative is I think it was Alan Moore. He said like it's not the job of the artist to give the people what they want. It's the job of the artist to give them what they need. And I'm like, yes,
Mm.
that is what
That
people
is
want.
exactly what I'm trying to say in a much better way. I
Yeah.
mean,
We
Alan,
don't always know what we need
no,
until we get it. So
exactly. And I needed that to otherwise I go off on a massive like tangent. But yes, no, that is dead right. You only want to, yeah, you want to, they just, yes, exactly that. I can't even, I can't improve on that. Never can.
can't improve on Alan
Well, he's
Moore.
a fantastic writer. So how
Exactly.
can I compete with that? But your album, it came out last year, Exstasis,
Yeah.
and self-released, independent.
Self-release, yeah, this
Yeah.
time, yeah.
And it is out on all the platforms, everyone. So you can go listen to it. Like you can stop this interview now and go to your preferred streaming platform of choice. I assume you're on Bandcamp and everything as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So people who
Bandcamp,
like to buy
SoundCloud.
music,
Tried to do all of them. Yeah.
yes. So people like to
Yeah.
buy music, actually buy music. It's a real
Yeah.
go buy music. Go to
I-
Bandcamp, especially the first Friday of every month, because the band gets all the money and the corporate heads only get a small portion, where the rest of the time
Yeah.
it's the other way around. Um, and that's a battle I hope people start taking seriously. Like the battle with AI.
Sure.
They took that seriously for the 5 minutes. Let's see if they do it with streaming. Um,
Yeah.
I have to be careful because I work for a company that works. It doesn't matter. I'll talk to you after about that. But you also released a bunch of remixes this year as well, with the track "Fuck the Tempo"
Yeah.
on Valentine's Day, February 14th.
Oh, was it? Oh,
It
pretty.
was. It was. I think. Well, that's the date that the streaming service told me. Whether that's right or not, who knows? Who knows? But if that was the plan, then well done. But yeah, you had that out as well. So people can go listen to it. But that was part of the album as well. That the original track was on the album. So people can
Yeah,
hear that on the album
exactly.
as well.
Yeah, so what I'm doing now basically that first track, that Fuck the Tempo
Mhm.
remix, is one of 12 remixes in progress. So like basically I'm releasing a speedcore Gabba version of Extasis.
Okay.
Um, so I'm remixing every track from Extasis, and I'm doing a kind of darker, more evil twin of the album,
Oh,
um, which I'm hoping to release as like a double CD, just like yeah, like later on in the year once this first lot is sold. Um, so yeah, so that's I'm quite excited about that because it's given me like whole new avenues of experimentation with production styles as well. Because obviously, like Extasis is like very much band oriented production. It's like relatively clean. Um, the darker version is just I can really max out the kick drums and
nice.
you know give it some kind of rave energy at the same time.
Excellent. Excellent.
And yeah, yeah, it's been nice to do that. So there's going to be a track every month for a while,
Yeah.
basically a remix track, and then I'll stick them all together.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. So I mean, obviously, like you mentioned with the album, you said it's more band orientated. It was a very clean, big sound with it. I don't know the word clean because that puts people off. It's a big sound to it. I mean, it's Junkie Kut, people. So it's a bit more, a bit more adventurous, a bit more high end production on there. So do you actually is Junkie Kut a band project? Because a lot of the videos I see you DJ, basically MC DJ type thing going on.
Uh,
Do you have a band, or is that a plan to have a live setup for it, or have I missed something on the socials?
yeah, no, it's cool. It's confusing because I use we pronouns a lot because I see myself as multiple levels of self Junkie Cut and
Yep,
the person behind it,
yep.
whatever. Um, and so it's confusing. It could be a bit misleading because people sometimes think there's like a whole bunch of us behind this, but yeah, it's just me, like
Okay,
everything. I did have a band at one point, and yeah, we did like 3 or 4 shows,
okay.
and it went really well. And then the band decided they wanted to do different things, which was like basically settle down and not do the touring life. So it all fell apart very quickly. It came and went
Yeah.
very quickly, and it was beautiful for a moment. But no, I don't plan to have a band at the moment. One of the reasons is like the logistics, man. Like it's fucking hard to do bands, and it's really hard to like get everybody in the same room at the same time, and everyone having the same level of commitment and all these things. So it's very much a one person show at the moment. Using like all my effects, running through Ableton, and then guitar, vocals, perhaps some percussion, um, but also live visual projections as well, like
Yeah.
synchronized. So that's the plan, and people will be able to see that at Resistance this year.
Oh,
So
that's a great
yeah.
segue right there. That's where I was going. Like we're on the
Nice.
same level. I
Yeah.
love that. But yeah, you are playing Resistance. I seem to have fallen into the lap of a few bands playing Resistance this year, which is kind of nice. I had All Black Era on at the end of last year. I've had Toronto is broken on multiple times.
Cool.
Um, and I had Nox Pulso on
Yeah, nice.
beginning of the month. Um, and I've got you on here now, and I potentially got another one. So I'm just waiting for them to come back to me. But yeah, no, this it's a great festival. It's a shame I'm not in the country for it because I would definitely be there otherwise. I am literally going to be on the other side of the world, which is kind
Okay.
of cool. Kind of sucks, but kind of is cool. I'm like I'm going to be somewhere. I'm going to be somewhere I've never been before. So
Sure.
it's cool. But no,
Cool.
Resistance I've always looked at that and Infest um as festivals I do want to go to. I've never had the chance on that front, but I've always loved the like electronic side of things. I used to go to London a lot, so like the Electroworks and places like the legendary
Hmm. Yeah,
Electroworks
yeah.
back in the day.
Same, man.
Um, and I played on the same stage as Alec Empire, for instance, and stuff like that. So it's kind
Yeah,
of like,
nice.
that was a moment for me because it was just like, fuck, it's Alec Empire. I kind of got a little bit dry mouth through him because I loved his stuff. I like his whole thing,
Yeah,
and it's not very often I get like that, but it was just with him. I
yeah,
don't know what it was. It was a certain aura, I think it was, of just how many nights I've spent listening to that music and just
yeah.
letting it get in my head and take me places.
Totally. I also
Um,
have an Alec Empire story, but maybe we could go into that later.
yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. But yeah, no, like I say, Resistance coming up in April in Sheffield at the Corporation. Another fantastic venue. I love that venue actually. There's plenty of bands playing it. People go see. I think Priest are headlining. I should have got the thing up in front of me. Um, All Black Era, which I already mentioned. This is mainly the Friday though. What day are you playing?
Sunday.
Sunday. Sunday. I should have.
Yeah, opening the main stage on Sunday.
Okay, nice, nice. I should have had the flyer up in front of me. Who is on that day? Because I'm gonna look for it now. But who is on the same day as you?
That's a very good question. Uh,
Well, we have to
I'm
fill
not
time
too
while we
sure.
try and find the lineup. Uh,
Yeah.
let's have a look. I've got.
Um,
Um, God damn it. Yeah, so everyone.
oh, Aesthetic Perfection, I think, is on
Ah,
the same day
yes, yes,
as
yes,
the headline. Yeah.
yes. Fantastic band. I've had their stuff sent to me before. It's been good. So I'm just going to bring up the Resistance lineup. I promise this is a professional show. Uh, there you go. Lineup. Okay, cool. Yeah, Aesthetic Perfection, All Black Era, Aylesbury Heights. Oh, these are all in alphabetical order. So you're there. You're quite near the top. It's kind of nice. You got Harpy, Nightclub no longer playing. That's a shame, actually. A lot of my friends wanted to go see Nightclub. Um, in fact, that was probably one of the only reasons they were going there. There we go. Okay, I've got the lineups in front of me now. So the day you're playing, you got Aesthetic Perfection, which we've already mentioned. Is it Cyberdyne?
Hmm.
Yeah. Disexual. Gen Cab. Everything goes cold. God, some of these logos, man. Um, Jamie Head Charge. Mr. View. Sorry, Ms. D Vouge. Versus Bloodjoy. You, Junkie Kut. Video Kids. And then there's a couple of DJs on that day. Crispy Goth, Vicious Moon, ADBT, Noise, Kirk, and Mechanical Vein with Biomechanical. Or actually, they're the same people, aren't they? Same. One's his thing, one's his band. Who's actually the other person who I'm due to get on this show.
Oh, cool.
I'm playing with them at the end of the year
Yeah, nice.
with Vengeant as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, like say it's a 3-day festival. You're on the 20th. Sunday the 20th of April.
Yeah.
Obviously, day tickets are available, but weekend tickets are also available for everyone goes. Resistanz.co.uk. I'm sure they could search for it. Industrial Festival, Sheffield. Um, although you might get a lot of steelwork stuff as well. Um, but yeah, you got Ashbury Heights on the Saturday, Years of Denial, Harpy, Dark Machine Nation, Paladrones, Neurocast, and Chump Wrecker. Should mention the DJs, but yeah, Ray the Binman, Erase, Simon Penguin, Evie, Arik, Charlie Octo Girl, and Nero Cypher. God, that's so close to my old band's name as well. My band was called Zero Cypher, so it's very
Oh,
close.
wow.
Nero
That's
Cypher.
good.
So, the band I was in actually is with one of the guys from Nox Pulso as well. So back in the day, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He remembers well. But yeah, you got pre Stalk Black Era, Toronto's Broken, Beyond Borders, Nox Pulso, Ray Noir, Ultra Vixen, Electric Dream, Ted, and Nameshade. That's the entire lineup. So I'm doing the work for Resistance here. But more importantly, you are on the Sunday. You're opening that main stage. Uh,
Yeah.
what can people expect from you? What is the Junkie Cut kind of live experience?
It's gonna be intense. So yeah, there's gonna be the like basically I'm doing a kind of festival show, classic festival show. I'm doing old stuff, new stuff, um, yeah, kind of goth industrial vibes, speedcore, electronic, digital hardcore.
Nice,
There's going to be, like I said before, visual projection, somewhat synchronized with the show as well.
beautiful.
Custom visuals, which I've been working on. Um, I'm not going to give you an easy ride, basically. So yeah, come prepared for a bit of a riot at 3 p.m. on the Sunday.
Best time
Um,
of day to do it.
exactly. So yeah, everyone might be feeling a bit sensitive on the Sunday morning.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's not going to be an easy ride, but it'll be a beautiful ride at the same time. So
Excellent, excellent. Well, I mean, hopefully a lot of people check you out when you're there. It's like I say, it's a fantastic festival. Everyone if anyone's into this music at all in the UK or even in Europe, make the trip across. It's one of those festivals that is kind of growing and growing and growing. I've seen it kind of go from a day to 2 days, 3 days over the years. And I can see it going further because there is a market for this, as not necessarily a commercial market for it, but there is definitely a niche that needs to be filled. And obviously, Infest was that, and to have another one is great because they're on different sides of the year or different sides of the summer, so
Mhm.
they're not competitors. But it's great having that being catered for because like before, you'd either get it at some like so, kind of like dingy club somewhere like random tiny venue. You'd get like someone come over and do like a random speak or gabba type thing. Um, and you don't necessarily get it these days because there's not that many those type venues. Yes, but over in Europe, like you say, it's still a thing. It's like they've got those little caves basically where you can go.
Yeah,
They've
yeah,
got
yeah.
those clubs because that's the culture of there. Like obviously a lot of like big dance music comes out of like the Mediterranean side of things, so the sort of more commercial stuff. But to every commercial side, there is always this dark underbelly, and it's not a bad thing. Like, not I didn't want to make it sound sinister. I do, but I don't. You know what I mean? Sinister is part of its thing, but it's like it's not the anti-commercial, but it's just something else to for someone else's brain. Like structure of like dance music may work for some people, but then you want the chaotic, like if you don't like jazz, for instance, but then you got this chaotic dance music that's at odd
Mhm.
time signatures or really intense fast beats at 200 and something BPMs. um and you got to get that itch scratched, um in that
Absolutely.
respect, um
Yeah,
whether that's assisted by any chemicals, I don't know, I can't speculate on that. um but it doesn't need it. Like a lot, I never needed it, and like a lot of the sort of Goa trance stuff, it used to put me in that zone, like
totally.
to it. And some of the visuals, they were very hypnotic from the
Yeah.
weird
I
spiral pictures.
Definitely. I would say that like a lot of my music is actually inspired by chemicals. You know, like I don't obviously would never use any chemicals for a live show or anything like that.
Mm,
But like, yeah, for as an inspiration, of course.
yeah, yeah, no, totally, totally. And it's yeah. I mean, good luck with the show, is what I'm trying to say on that one. And everyone else on Resistance as well, because it's like I say, a fantastic festival, and they've been really kind in sharing a lot of the posts that I've put up with the artists that I've had on here and everything. And and it's great to see a lot of like people I know play it, which is great. So like Toronto is Broken, I've known for fair few years now. He's been on this show a few times. We're due to play Warhammer at some point. Um, but I mean, he's been wanting to put out a live band for his drum and bass new metal thing that he does, and he's kind of getting closer to that. I mean, he's got Reeves and Sabotage with him. I think he's just got Reeves with him at Resistance, but hell of an MC, that one. She's got a hell of a voice. Real kind of on the metal vibe, and I'm surprised she's not in any more metal projects or many metal projects, because she's got that. Obviously, she might prefer. I've never spoken to Reeves, so she may prefer the drum and bass MC scene, which is fine.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, like just like waiting to see that, because obviously he's touring at the moment as well. But yeah, I'd love to see that. But I want to see more electronic artists play live, not necessarily with a full band, but
Mm.
just sort of bring that music live. And there's a few that I've seen, a couple of synthwave bands, LeBrock, where it was just two of them on stage, guitarist and the singer, and
Mm.
the laptop, producing a lot of it. But it sounded so fucking, I don't know what they did with the production, but it sounded so fucking good. Now he's got a full band behind him as well, so it's kind of like it can be done.
Totally.
Even with that side. But yeah, no, it's like I say, it's looking good. What sort of I always like to ask, because you kind of brushed over what you kind of use live, but I always like to talk about the sort of gear that you use when it comes to
Yeah.
live. Obviously, Ableton is your door of choice when it comes to live production.
Yep.
But what
Yep.
sort of other stuff do you use? What other any particular plugins or anything like that you kind of like, you know, you like to use, or is that the secret?
No, 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 of course not. It's basically like I'm using I always have used this pretty much the same synths. And it's pretty interesting because like 15 years ago when I first started, I think it was like Nexus and Vanguard, my
Okay. Yep.
go-to synths. Old school, but like 15 years ago when they came out around that time, like they were like cutting edge.
Yeah.
And so I was like getting these synths and like playing this. They've got the kind of like arpeggiated, like like trance stuff, and they're really nice for trance synths.
Yeah.
And I just feel like now, like I would never change because they just sound so like old school, but also like don't know, reminiscent of like the 90s,
Yep.
like end of the 90s, like Euphoria, and then yeah, like I'm always trying to capture that in my music. The how things were once better in terms of socio-politically. Um, and mid 90s and towards the end of the 90s were quite an exciting time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of trying to hold on to that with the synths in a sense as
Yeah.
well.
No, I mean that's cool. I mean, I love those sort of those sounding ones. I mean, back in the day, I had a Juno D, which is very
Oh yeah.
80s related kind of like sounds came out of that.
Mm.
But I really fell in love with the Prophecy, called Prophecy,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and that was very much that has a very much 90s dance music written all over every sound on it. I went so far and I actually bought the plugin because I wanted the keyboard. I wanted the actual physical synth, but I could never afford one, and it was still
Sure.
too much money now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had the Juno, and like back in the day as well, and I had the physical Juno as well, and I sold that, as you do when you're young and stupid. I'm trying to buy it back now, and I'm not paying more for it, so I'm like, no. So I just bought the plugin, and oh my god, like it totally opened that nostalgic window for me, but it's also improved everything I'm doing, because those
Brilliant.
sounds are like still really good, really rounded, like really kind of like solid. There's nothing new that I can get now that I can't do with that, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
I get sent countless emails, countless fucking ads online for synths and stuff, for like Serum and stuff like that. I don't even know what
Yeah.
Serum is. I've never used Serum. I don't know if that's a new author or a new plugin, but
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, it sounds good in the advert, but like, is there a free trial? No. Um, and it's just
Mm.
like, no, can I do it with this? I'll go back to my thing and I'll go, can I do it with this? And I get, yeah, I can. So what does it matter? you know.
Yeah.
um, but
Well,
yeah,
it's kind of like with instruments in general, right? If you see like a VST as an instrument and you compare it to like a guitar or bass or something, like what's the point in like understanding one instrument and then just going to the next one and trying to relearn it all? I mean, you could, but it's not going to get you very far in terms of writing music.
no, that's
So,
basically what I've done recently. I've
yeah,
reinvested in because I used to be a bassist, or I used well, I say
right.
I was never in a band, but I learned how to play bass in college. I went to an ACM college and learned how to play bass.
Uh-huh.
So I bought myself a new bass for my birthday, and I'm fucking loving it. I've got a couple of basses in here, but they're broken. The electronics are shot. Can't plug them into anything, and I can't
Yeah.
be bothered to fix them. So
Yeah.
they cost more than. But I like, and you're right. Like not having to relearn. Obviously, I had to sort of pick up, brush off a few sort of like dexterity skills and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. It's like if you've already got the skills in one, there's no point going for a plugin or a VST that would mimic that, but on a keyboard. And you'd have to relearn how it works with a keyboard and try and get that same feel.
Exactly.
The only thing I bought myself was an extra pedal, and that was it. And that was just a modeling pedal. So just so I didn't have to have a bass amp hanging around.
Yeah,
Um, so,
totally.
but no, that's the only thing. And I've been recording with that. Like I use Ableton as well. Um, and I started recording with that the other day, just because I had some unfinished stuff that I was doing, and yeah, it was so much nicer. The bass just sounds it just sounds more natural. I think the word is, even though I was using a lot of effects on it, but it just sounds like how I wanted it to sound, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Just let my fingers talk it rather than letting my keyboard do it. So
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's just the old school Sims. And also it's what you get used to, isn't it?
yeah, that's true.
Like, when you get used to something, like if you want to be productive and make music and actually finish a song, if that's your aim, then it's better just to stick with what you've got, I think,
Nice.
and go from there.
Nice, cool. So my other question is like because I've seen like you do DJ sets and stuff like that, and obviously turntables behind me and this controller on top of it.
Hmm.
I am a DJ. It's not just a funny name. Um, but what do you have a DJ setup, or is that something the club kind of like when you go play there? It's usually just like the CDJ setup, or do you have a specific setup you like for that?
Well, yeah, for the Gabba Speed core shows, it's a lot of plugging into the DJ mixer,
Yeah.
and like budging things up and making a bit of space for the for the equipment, and doing my own sound check like in headphones just before the show, um, very 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 DIY. Um, so yeah, so in terms of my live show, it's basically yeah, just kind of stereo out really.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
and I just kind of run everything through that so I can really control it all myself, especially because it's like unusual music. So like, trying to like can't expect every sound tech to be able to understand what you're going for.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I generally do my own kind of pre-mix for shows.
Nice.
But
Nice.
I also do DJ as well.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
yeah, but it's acid techno, like old school,
Yeah.
like Chris Liberator, Stay Up Forever vibes.
I like that. I like that. Um, yeah, I mean, I made a point of learning on every piece of DJ kit like that is kind of out there. So I've obviously
Uh-huh.
turntables. You see that I am on that old school level, but if you put a pair of CDJs in front of me or a controller, I've got this controller up this Denon thing,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's an all-in-one. Like I carry that to clubs and stuff, and I've got a smaller version of that
Oh, cool.
as well. Um, Depending on what kind of show I'm playing. So if I'm doing the rock nights that I do, then I'll take the smaller. I've got a Denon Prime Go Plus, whatever the latest one is. And I just because all the other DJs bring their own gear, so I just wanted to be as like minimal as possible to kind of
Oh,
get
yeah.
in and out.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but then when I'm doing my own show stuff like that, I take the big controller, and it's very rare that it's almost non-existent that I take my turntables out anymore. Um, I was in the scratch scene. I still am, but like I was in that, so it's a bit more
Right.
like vinyl orientated. But I do have things like was it Phase DJ, which is the little like controllers you put on top of the records, and
Okay.
when you rotate the turntable, it makes Tractor and Serato work
Oh, cool.
as they would, and you can manipulate them the same way. So if you're scratching or beat magic, whatever, you've got the same control, but you don't actually have to have the vinyl. So
Hmm.
it's like the DVS basically, the control vinyl, but it's a little. little controller. Um, but yeah, I made a point of learning on everything. Like whenever, like, because I don't know what I'm going to walk into in some clubs. And because
Mm,
I've played over in Europe, I've played over in the States, I've played around the UK. Um,
yeah,
Everywhere has a different thing unless you bring your own shit with you.
yeah.
So thankfully, a lot of the times I just got to take USB sticks with me, which is so much nicer. This little like makeup purse thing here, it's got my USBs in it, so it's kind of like it's nice to have that. Like it's nice on my back. Let's put it that way compared to vinyl.
Fair
Vinyl.
enough. Yeah, yeah.
No. But yeah, no, it's like again, like some places I just turn in like a stereo out, like just plug me in. Some sound guys get really nervous. I'm like, why? Just plug
I
me in.
know.
It's
I know.
fine. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I'm playing a DMB, doing my first straight DMB metal set next month in May. Yeah,
Cool.
so I'm preparing for that at the moment. I'm supporting Seething Akira at one of my local venues.
Oh yeah. I know them, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, just like I made a point of making it my because I've been wanting to do it for years. I had a radio show back a few years ago, it went on for about 10 years, but it was like rock metal electronic crossover. So it was all those remixes, all those bands that kind of fuse it, um, bootlegs, stuff like that, just mixed for an hour on a rock station. And I never got to do it live, which sucked. And I always tease it at my rock nights, but I can't play too much dance music at those things because it angers the blood of some people. Um,
Good.
so, but yeah, no, I can talk about DJing fucking anything. I just have. But I can get into that. But I've got a couple of couple of questions left for you, basically.
Cool.
I can let you get on with the rest of your evening. But what I want to find out, I don't know if you got this far into any of the podcasts, but um, I like to ask what the three most pivotal records were for people.
Hmm.
So the ones not necessarily your favorite records, so not your top three, not your all
Mm,
time, but the ones that you kind of heard at some point and it made you want to go, "What's this?" And it pulled
hmm.
you into that rabbit hole, or made you want to be a musician, made you want to play speedcore, for instance. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you could pinpoint like three records that really did that for you, what would they be?
Okay. Mm, Intelligence and Sacrifice by Alec Empire was the one I was like, fuck yes, this is punk metal, the anger of punk and metal, the political rage, like the political rage and anger in there as well, and also the like hardcore electronic dance music scene all in one. And also, yeah, I want some of this.
Yep.
So I went down a rabbit hole with this one.
Nice,
Skinny Puppy Weapon,
nice.
which is like the last album I think they did, like as a studio album.
Yeah,
Um, Again, a similar thing. It was like really capturing that like harmony of the two worlds of like the electronic dance music, rave culture, and the kind of punk industrial vibes. And probably also Jilted music for the Jilted Generation, Prodigy, for that exact same reason. Because it spoke to my soul as a youth.
yes,
And
same here. Like that is one of mine as well.
nice.
Um, I think I had a discussion with the guys in Nox Pulso, and that came up. They twisted the question onto me, but that one came up as one of mine. Like
Okay, cool.
that moment of just like uh, it was just like a turning point. That album, I think, for me anyway, and obviously for you as well. It was just one of those things that kind of just I don't know, just covered all the bases.
It did.
I didn't know what I wanted to hear till I heard that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And because I'd been into my rock, metal, indie stuff like that, and the dance music scene around that point, which is still relevant for me. But Jilted just seemed to hit all those nails. So it's got guitars, it's got like heavy, heavy beats. It's dark, but it's also got that rave element. So you've got like Break and Enter, which is kind of a dark like dance tune, but then you've got No Good as well, which is like fucking amazing. It's just like so a bit more
Um,
uplifting. And then you've got stuff like was it Weather System? No, that was on experience. Um, oh God, I can't, is it Molotov Cocktail? I think is on that album. Just trying to think of names of songs here.
Oh, no, it's right. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah,
Their Law was like the third track or
the Lord.
something.
Yeah,
Um,
Voodoo People.
but I think that was the time as well. Like the album artwork of that album, like on the inside,
Yeah,
there's that beautiful thing of like the very much inspired Junkie Cut in a way, the kind of binary nature of reality, like
yeah,
and the non-binary because of that. So there's like on one side there's like the cops and there's destruction and there's violence and evil shit. And then on the other side of the bridge there is like this beautiful like utopia and
I
this
don't
guy
like
just
that.
like
But
cutting the rope. Yeah, and it's like it's really nice to like that kind of duality
yeah,
and also kind of like what happens on the bridge, like if they met in the bridge, what would happen?
yeah,
And like that kind of thing has been really inspiring for Junkie Cut as a as
nice,
a as an entity, really. Um, so yeah, so and,
fantastic.
and and it was kind of culturally too, like I don't know, like if you, well, I'm sure you had the Scallies down your way in like the 90s, um, the the mainstream kids, and then you had the goths and rockers
Yes,
vibes, moshes and things like this, and then like the Prodigy just joined that.
yeah,
And it was fucking beautiful. So you have Scallies being like, "Oh, this, do you like the Prodigy?" And it's like, mate, yeah, this
yeah.
is where we can actually unite. So
Yeah,
it's
I went to many a Prodigy show. I did a couple of the overnight ones at Brixton. I say overnight; they went on to like 3 in the morning,
wow, wicked.
and it was like because that was like my first. It wasn't my first dance. It was my no, it wasn't. It was like it was the first time that these two tribes that I felt in the same era. So I've been
Yeah,
to a metal show. I'd been to electronic music shows. I saw things like Ronnie Size and Orbital and all that kind of stuff back
wicked.
in the sort of mid 90s and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
going to Brixton and spending the night there, that was one thing for a young boy to do. But like it felt so at home, and that's what I've loved about like electronic music, for instance, like that tribe, if you will, it's very tribal. It's not hate tribe, it's very loving. It's very in cold, like bringing it in. And I've always loved that about it. Even with the
Hmm.
darker stuff, it's got that heart to it.
For sure.
Because it is for some. There's an acceptance with everything. Not saying that metal isn't, but metal does have its darker sides that are like polarizing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas that side of it, I always felt a lot of love. Like even when I was a young kid going to these things, like I was 15, 16 going to these things at like I did an New Year's Eve thing at Alexandra Palace.
Oh wow.
And that was like it was like Chemical Brothers. Great. It's all the big names that are huge. James Lavelle,
Wow.
all that kind of stuff. And but the absolute atmosphere of it, like even when like people were fading, like getting really tired, because obviously it's like 3 in the morning on New Year's, everyone's kind of done their big thing at midnight, and then you're stuck at the top of Alexandra Palace in London, so you can't go anywhere. But just sort of just like crashing out, but people making sure everyone's all right, making sure people was getting water, making sure like just like the general vibe of it was just so
Hmm.
it was beautiful, and that's what's kept me in it. Like
For sure.
that's what kept me in over. And like I say, when back to what I was gonna say when I go to the Prodigy, that was like what it was. Like you said, you had all these different walks of like music taste but uniting because this band have fused these genres together in such a way that it's just worked. So you've got your itch for your sort of big dance music. You've got your itch for your sort of punk rock, kind of like I think they called them electronic punks. I think was the term
Hmm.
used for. I think that was the name of their VHS actually.
It was. I had
Yeah.
that one. Yeah.
And it's just it was beautiful, and that's kind of how I like to sort of see things like Resistance and stuff like that. Of seeing those vibes coming in because you've got your rock and metal sort of influence bands in there, but you've got that electronic heart to it.
Hmm.
Always the beat. That's always the tribal beat, if you will. Um, but yeah, I mean, your other albums you picked as well are really good as well. So the Alec Empire one, I love that. Obviously, I mentioned earlier I got to share a stage with him once. But what is your Alec Empire
Oh
story?
man, you couldn't make it up. I was living, so we were in Berlin, right? We
Yep.
lived in a van in Berlin near Tempelhof for like nine
Okay.
months. Um, Wrote quite a lot of Extasis in that album, in that in that vehicle on that street actually.
Oh wow.
So that was like 5 years ago or more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote some of the tracks, like kind of some of the frameworks for them back then. Um, yeah, so we moved into a house briefly, and I walked past the next door neighbor, looked at the door, and it said, "Eat Your Heart Out Records." And I was like, why do I know that? I couldn't figure it out. So I was like, and it came to me. I was like, fuck, it's Alec Empire's like label. I'm sure it's one of his labels. Totally was, man. So like basically I just went around next door to my next door neighbor in Berlin, knocked on the door. They buzzed me in. I was like, fuck, all right. Went upstairs, knocked on the door. Nick Endo came to the door. Uh,
Oh.
and we were just like, and I was like, hey, here's my CD. I just want to say hello and like, yeah, love your music. You know, if you want any tour support anytime, here's my CD. Um, and that was kind of it. And then I was moving out of the house, and Alec Empire, on the day I was moving out, he literally was walking his dog outside, on the day I was moving out. So I didn't even have a chance to connect, you know. But it's yeah, that was my story. We just kind of brushed paths so closely, but never actually really had a conversation or anything. But
That's crazy, man. That is
I
absolutely,
know
it's just
you couldn't make it up.
no,
Like,
it's mad. That is completely like it's yeah, that's great. I love that though. It's
yeah. So
yeah.
one day I'll meet Alec Empire, and you know, when they do an Atari Teenage Riot reform, one day,
Yeah. It'll
uh,
happen, I think.
yeah, hopefully Junkie Kut will support.
That'd be beautiful. That would be absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
And you can say, yeah, I used to live next to you, man.
exactly.
And Skinny Puppy, yeah, Weapon's a fantastic record. Um, yeah, they're one of those bands that I keep forgetting about. Like I forget their name, but I know when I hear them. Um, but again, from back then as well, another high influence on
hmm
sort of like sound and stuff. Um, but yeah, no, that fantastic three records. Love those. We talk again ages on those. But yeah, a final question for you, Junkie Cut. What are your hobbies away from Junkie Cut? So when you're not doing this thing and you're out touring or playing in various places, what are your, I wouldn't say getaways, but your separations from it?
Fuck man, I don't. I am fucking integrated right now. Um, I like really fucked up films.
Okay.
I like to stay awake really late watching really weird experimental films, like gritty movies. I like a lot of like Shane Meadows stuff, like British like dark, dealing with complicated issues.
Mm.
Um, what else, man? I don't know. Meditation, yoga.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I do a graphic design and video, but this is just more like kind of work related.
Yeah.
Uh, screen printing, like everything just
Okay.
kind of goes through the Junkie Cut project right now.
Yeah. I
I'm
was gonna
really,
say
it's
all
hard to disconnect at the moment. Um, but then also DJing acid techno, 90s trance,
yeah.
um, kind of old school break beat, things like that.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of whenever I actually feel like I need a chill and a bit of a night off, I'll
Yeah.
yeah, have a couple of beers and play some banging tunes.
Ah, that's fair. That is absolutely fair. No, no, I mean a lot of those. I mean things like yoga and stuff like that is always a good. That's a good way of meditation. Is just a good way of just separating oneself from the worries of the world for one, but also giving you time to actually reflect on it as well. So
Totally.
I wouldn't put it as a hobby in that respect because it's very kind of like obviously for yourself, it's very it's introspective and stuff like that. But it's you know it's good for the soul. For anyone watching, it's good. It does. It helps.
It's like the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, exactly.
Meditation is the hardest thing that anyone can ever do.
Yeah,
And like, you know, how like it's kind of sold as like, oh, it's just this thing to relax.
yeah.
Like it's
That's
not
how it's
really a thing to relax. It's just brutal fucking hard work.
it is it yeah you're right it is it because it's that introspective side of it and it is one of the hardest things that I've had to do like you're right. It takes a lot of mental kind of fortitude to do it, and obviously to like sort of distract yourself from these
Hmm.
and what's going on, like through that portal or through this portal or through the television, whatever, you know, all that shit going on, and sometimes you need to kind of just reflect on yourself and bring yourself in. Then you can have that like, I don't know, not justified feeling on stuff, but you can. It just gives you that time to really reflect on it because not everything is worth stressing about.
Exactly.
You know.
And just like there's so many distractions with like you say phones and stuff,
Yeah.
like really need to bring it in. And I wrote a lyric which keeps coming into my head, and I know why it is. It's because of my addiction to the social media. But it's disconnect from cyberspace, reconnect to inner space.
Yeah,
And I think like the world fucking needs that.
it does. It so sorely does. Like it's something that is desperately needed. It's something that I'm like, you know, I try and talk to my family about. I say I do talk to my, I don't try, I don't need to try, but my kids like having that disconnect, and I tell them have that, you know, leave your phone in your room, come down here, spend some time with us, you know, or we'll go and sit out in the garden, we'll go take a walk, we'll take the dogs for a walk, you know, stuff like that.
Mm,
Um, and just like without the phones, like you've got us with you, you don't need anything, and it's just a way of us like disconnecting but reconnecting with each other, but disconnecting from that hold that it has, and you realize that it's not as important. You know, you're not going to miss anything. You know that like it doesn't matter if someone announces a tour. It doesn't matter if you know whoever's said something about someone else who's you know whatever the case may be. It's not worth it because it doesn't affect your daily life.
no,
Like you
I
want to
did.
be with yourself. You want to be you know concentrating on what you're doing but spending time with the people that you're going to be spending time with. Obviously, kids, it's kind of you know you spend a lot of time with them generally, but sometimes you don't spend that quality time with them.
For sure.
You know, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's I mean I love that lyric is fantastic. Like you know, and it does it resonates with me in that respect of like connecting with your inner self and being back with what makes you human. Why are you human? I mean, obviously, I do things like this. I have a thing, social media.
Hmm.
I want it quite a lot. I'm not going to lie. It is a pull. It's like I think someone accurately described it as a one-arm bandit. You know, like a fruit machine. Like you're pulling it and you're waiting for the likes to ding, ding,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ding,
Yeah,
ding,
yeah.
ding. And then you're waiting for that viral hit, which is the jackpot, which never comes for most people, you know. And I wish I could remember who described it as that because they wrote a book about it and I've tried to look for it and I couldn't find it. But yeah, it's just stuff like that. Like it's like as much as they don't want to call it an addiction, it is an addiction. Like I've got no shame in that because there are plenty of things that people you can be addicted to. And that's just the
Totally.
nature of a human, you know, the way the human mind works. And it's just how you reflect on that and how you work on that. And
Yeah,
you know, like an alcoholic is never a cured alcoholic; they're always recovering. It's an ongoing process.
exactly.
So,
And
and
yeah,
you know, whose responsibility is it? It's the self. It has to be the self. You have to be self-governed because the big companies don't care. They say they
it
do.
does.
They don't. And
It,
I don't want to talk trash about them because they're big business. That's what they are. That's the nature of that side of things. Because
yeah, but we need to create like regulate ourselves in dealing with this foreign technology, you know, this like this alien weaponry is how I see it.
yeah,
Like tech is like modern tech is alien weaponry, and we really need to defend ourselves against that to preserve our own selves, really.
you do. I
Um
mean, I live by this theory now that half the internet is not even human, or over half. It's the dead internet theory. Um, it's a controversial theory, as most theories are, and it's often like before that, as most theories are as well. But it's totally valid. Like I look at my statistic or whatever follow count and stuff, and I guarantee half of them are not real. They're just bots. And half the time, the discussions online are just bots having discussions with bots and generate from that. There is a human element to it, but it's becoming less and less.
it's
Um,
fucking insane, man.
yeah, I don't know how to counteract it. I don't know what to do. It's kind of just it's out of control at this moment. It's you know
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
I mean it's beyond my intelligence I suppose is probably the better way of doing it. Although I do work in the tech sector as well, so it's kind of contradictory of me. which I'll tell you about in a moment after I hit stop recording. Um, but yeah, no, obviously I don't want to end on a downer with this, but yeah, it's just one of those things. But no, like yoga is great. It is one of the hardest things you'll do, but it's so worth it. It's not a run up a hill though. It's not physically kind of like, fitness levels exhausting. It's mentally. So you're using your brain, you're trying to shut out those sounds. Um, Even though, yourself trying to make some loud and chaotic sounds, but that can also work as well. Don't get me, like I mentioned it earlier with like the sort of the trance stuff, the Goa trance and stuff, that like that meditation wise, like when I was younger, like it wasn't deliberate meditation, it was just literally losing myself in that music
Yeah,
and going on that kind of like psych journey, if you will. um and it can work that way as well. So if people, like I always say, if people have trouble shutting off the voices in their head, it's just find that music that kind of takes you to a calming place,
yeah.
that can be any
It
kind of music.
works. It works just like meditation.
Yeah, yeah. As my kid said the other day, like it doesn't matter what music is, but don't yuck people's yums. So even if it is Coldplay, don't let them know. Just say, yeah, cool. If that's your thing, awesome. Um, but
Sure.
it's so difficult. Don't get me wrong, it's so difficult. It's Coldplay. Um, um, but my kid was very wise. It wasn't Coldplay they were liking, but it was like,
Good.
don't yuck my yum. And I thought that just stuck with me. I was like, yeah, I love that. I'm going to use that from now
Yeah. No,
on.
that's cool.
But Junkie Cut, thank you very much for this conversation. I really appreciate it. Good luck with Resistance. Um, Good luck
Thanks.
with the album. Obviously, it's been out since September last year, so it's obviously doing you all right. But good luck with the remix album, the darker side of Exstasis. I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
that
Thank you.
and where that
Thank you.
goes. But yeah, good luck with everything, and yeah, thank you again.
Nice one, buddy.
Cool.
See
Thank
you
you, mate.
soon.
Bye bye.